Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Listing Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Hernandez.
And I am co-host Jasleen Chavez.
And today we have guest speaker Gene Hacker, who is an investor, real estate, and entrepreneur in real estate.
Thank you.
All right. Woo, Gene.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. Awesome. So, Gene, I know that you've been in the business for how long?
2005.
Since 2005. Okay, so that's awesome. You went through the whole recession. So let's talk about that after.
Okay.
But how did you get into real estate? Share a little bit about like who you are. Who is Gene?
And
Great.
tell us what you like to have for breakfast.
Breakfast. I'm too busy for breakfast. So I got to keep this figure. In 2003, I had a baby. A friend of mine for over 30 plus years was in real estate, and he kept asking me, come on, work with me. And finally, it was like, you know what? I had this baby. I want to spend more time with him instead of doing the teaching thing so that I can see his award ceremonies and such. And so I stopped. 2005, I started working with him. I ran a large real estate company out in Brea. It was a learning experience. I had to learn about real estate real fast. I had to learn about business real fast. I had to learn about flipping real fast. And so within a few months, I got it.
Was the main projective of that real estate, was it sales or was it more flipping? Which one was it more?
There was a big group of people that flipped, and we were flipping though in Arizona, Austin, Houston, and I helped them open up an office in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was in charge of that, but then I was also in charge of the 100 agents that we had as well. Wow. And then I was also in charge of my my friend's personal stuff as well. So I learned a lot in a short amount of time. So I don't get breakfast.
That's a lot to take on for a new agent.
It was a lot of fun.
So it's like your son motivated you. You want to be there for a lot of his accomplishments and
Right.
achievements. So that's why you went to real estate.
Yeah, and so they gave me a year sabbatical. And then I got a second year sabbatical. And then after that, I had to decide if I was going back into teaching, but I was too ingrained into real estate at that point. And that's when the bubble popped too. So
Wow. What were you teaching before real estate?
elementary school. I was teaching in Watts, and then I was teaching in Anaheim for a while.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
And actually, that was one of my biggest compliments, and I'll take it to this day. I heard a sixth grade girl ask this other sixth grade girl, "How's Mr. Hacker?" And instead of saying he's like the coolest teacher ever, she said he's fair. And it's like, you know what? That's a good compliment, especially in business. You know what? You want to be fair. You want to have winners. You don't want to have winners and losers. You want to have winners and winners. So I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Nice.
Especially coming from a, what you said, 6-year-old? 7-year-old?
Sixth grade.
Oh,
so
sixth
10
grade.
or 11-year-old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So when you kind of made that transition from becoming a teacher into real estate, I mean, what was one of your struggles doing that transformation? Was it difficult, or did you have an easy flow into it?
My friend of 30 plus years, he said, figure it out. So I had to figure it out. I figured it all out. It didn't take a day or two. It took a while. And if I was wrong, I'd admit I was wrong and I'd ask somebody for help, but I figured it out. And that's what I go to today as well. I figure it out, or else I ask for help.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how to do everything, but I'll just figure it out if I have to, sort of thing. So you went from like straight, like a teacher job, like say 9 to 5 or whatever, straight to being a realtor where
I
now
knew
you
nothing
have
about real estate.
flexible schedule. Like, how did that, because it seemed like you went straight to like leadership role.
I did.
So it's like, boom.
I was running an office, and I was running a team of, like I said, flippers. And it wasn't here locally. Like I said, it was out of state, so across the country. So it just took a lot of just dedication and a lot of time.
Yeah.
Nice. So when you went from managing or, getting into that real estate, and then you somehow transformed more into you started investing yourself, right? So tell us about your first investment.
Oh, sure. It was a duplex in Round Rock, Texas.
Oh, nice.
And it was back in the countrywide days, so I really took no money out of my pocket. They did the first and the second loan, so we just had to pay the $4,000 or whatever it was in closing costs. I think I probably spent about $15,000, $17,000 fixing up the property, and then we resold it. So it was pretty effortless.
How was that experience? So that was your first flip, and it was out of state.
Never saw it.
You never saw it. So you like really trusted these contractors.
Yeah.
And so if you're partnering up with, say, a company to do the work over and out of state, like how does that, like, have you done work with them before? Is it?
It was it was our own company. So we had offices at that time in Bullhead City, Austin. I helped them open up in Houston, and then we opened up in Charlotte together, North Carolina. So it was all the same. It was all of us.
You know, and since we're kind of on that topic right now, do you still invest out of state?
No.
No?
It's too hard. Like you said, I can't feel it, touch it, and trust is a difficult thing. I don't know, even with my own people, I don't know how many times I replace the same refrigerator. So, no, I want to see it and touch it now.
Yeah, I had a friend that just sold a house. I want to say Florida maybe. But they're like, my AC got stolen throughout the transaction because they were selling it, right? Yeah. And they're like, that was just such a headache, like trying to sell it because, I mean, you've never met this realtor, you haven't seen the property in quite some time. So I can imagine that. And that's the reason why me and my husband don't invest out of state. Not because it's not good, you know. I think if you have limited access to funds, then it could be a good idea to invest out of state.
Right, I agree.
But it's like you just get you get small return now.
You just have to trust and find a really good property manager. It's hard. It's hard. Property management is a thankless job. It's a difficult job.
And the contractors.
Yeah,
you gotta trust,
exactly.
You gotta trust the contractors. I know people who are having issues trusting their contractors out in Palm Springs, and that's only 3 hours away.
Yep. And it's working with the same contractor over again. You want to make this bond with them, but then all of a sudden the contractor starts thinking in their heads, well, if it wasn't for me, these guys wouldn't be making any more money. So they want more money as well, too, because now it's all them instead of us or what you've created.
Nice.
Yeah. You're like, if I didn't get this deal, you wouldn't have a job right now. So we can talk about that.
Right.
How do you handle stress?
Stress, you try to stop it before it starts. So I don't procrastinate on things. I know the stress happens that way. So if I know something's due tomorrow, either I'll go back to my office tonight or I'll make sure I wake up really early because we'll go back to teaching really fast. Because at the very end of my very first year of teaching, the principal walked in. I was teaching school in Watts. I was in a portable way out in the playground. Nobody was around me. And the principal came back and just said, "Congratulations, how was your first year?" And I said, "You know what, it was wonderful except for so-and-so." And she said, well, if so-and-so wasn't here, somebody else would step up and replace that problem. And that happens in everything in life. You know, as soon as you pay a bill, here comes another bill. Yeah. Or you finish a task, here comes another task. So I try to stop the stress before it happens by just staying on top of everything.
Who taught you that? Do you have any mentors?
I learned it myself. I learned it myself when I was getting up early in the morning every single day in real estate and going to the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, holidays, every single day.
Nice. So I see you do a lot of I mean, you've been in it for a couple of years now.
Right.
How did you, throughout the years starting off, how did you find a lot of your deals? You know, a lot of your fix and flips, just in general?
Relationships. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, then you make sure you do it. I've done some deals with your team and Angel and Patty, and you guys have been wonderful. You're a great resource. And I think I've always stepped up, and when you asked me to do something, and no matter how high you told me to jump, I think I did it, because I know if you don't go to me, you're going to go to the next person, and I want that deal. So I just want to keep those relationships going, never burn a bridge.
Nice. That's good to know. And then as far as, you know, throughout the years, I mean, is that the only source of, you know,
MLS? I'm a real estate broker, so I have the MLS too, and so we used to cold call on a lot of properties. And I can't say I'm the first, but I'm the first that I know of. Back in around 2008-ish or so, we wanted the properties more than the commission. And so I'd call up the listing agent and say, hey, would you represent me on this? And then I know after that, a couple years later, everybody was doing it. But that's how we started, just cold calling agents who had houses for sale. And back then it was the REOs and the short sales too, so there were good deals.
Yeah.
Are you a door knocker? You seem like a door knocker.
I'm not. I don't like talking to people. I'm not. That's my partner. I like sitting behind my desk behind the phone and just hiding back there. In fact, I finally answered a phone call one time, and because I like the emails better. And
so don't call him.
Well, she
Email
said
him, please.
she thought I was like the Wizard of Oz, the wizard behind the big door, because nobody really knew who I was, or I never talked to anybody. So no, I'm not a door knocker.
Yeah. What's your take on finding like off-market properties? I know that a little bit more effort goes into that, right? Like you have to go knock on the door, like, hey, your house needs some love, or sending them a letter. Have you guys ever? We
used to do that. In fact, I still have a bunch of envelopes with the red print, because back in the day, there's sites that would tell you if you had NODs filed on your property and stuff, and those were the ones that we would hit. There's not too much of that right now since everybody's got equity.
Right.
So, it's cyclical, so it'll probably come back again.
Yeah.
So I still have the envelopes.
Keeping those around.
Let's go back to financing a little bit. I know financing then was a little bit different now than it is today. I mean, do you have any suggestions for a lot of new investors that are getting into this business, how they can get financing for their first flips, or kind of information you can give like that?
I don't mind. I mean, private money is really expensive right now, so that's difficult. Sometimes it's just letting people know what you're doing now, because sometimes there's a family member or a friend of a friend of a friend who's having difficulty, and maybe you could just take over their loan payments and take over their house that way. Another good thing of financing is when you're 8, or actually before you're 18, when you have your first job, actually, if you start putting money away in your IRA, you can start using your IRA to invest in real estate tax-free. It's one of the best sources. So you can even just loan people money through your IRA. So maybe grandma and grandpa or mom and dad have a Roth IRA or something, and then just borrow money, private money that way, and maybe it'd be cheaper too. Banks are difficult right now. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Can you give us some of the requirements right now for a seasoned investor? What is your down payment? What are interest rates? Do you have an idea of that?
Thankfully, we've been buying all cash lately.
So you're a cash guy.
You kind of have to be. I mean, when stuff is around 12%, 13%, and then you pay points on top of that, and holding costs and everything else right now, it's difficult. And even back in 2008, 2009, 10, when we were doing stuff in California, I own my own real estate company. I own my own escrow company. I'm a contractor. The volume that we did, we got good discounts on every place we bought. And I was wondering how people were still outbidding me for a property. It just didn't make sense to me, but I guess there's still money in it.
Is it all your own cash, or is it like some sort of?
We've got investment. We got pooled money.
Oh, you pooled. Okay. Okay.
And as far as, let's go back to the seller financing part. Can you explain that a little bit?
Or it could be like a sub 2, right? Where you take over their payments.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be careful though, because if it's found out, I mean, a bank could call the note due. Then you got to figure that out. But I mean, if somebody's having a hard time, give them some money to walk away, give them some money to move, and then just try to take over their payments, especially if it was 7 or 8, 9 years ago with the rates for 3%, you just got yourself a great deal.
For a lot of new people listening right now, can you explain a scenario? So for example, are these people, do they have a lot of equity? Do they have little equity? Are they upside down?
I guess everyone would be dependent upon what your monthly payments are as well. Because even if it's upside down, it still might make sense, because I mean, it depends what the condition the property is in. So maybe if it got some love and stuff, all of a sudden you bounce from negative to positive equity. But yeah, you know, door knocking is good, but just getting your name out there that you're interested in buying these properties. And sooner or later, somebody sadly had some sort of sickness or lost their job and whatnot. And, you know, sadly, that's your gain. But you're helping the person too, because hopefully they'll walk away with some money and can restart their life again.
Do you do any buy and holds?
We do. Right now, flipping market's pretty bad.
Okay.
So we're trying to add value ourselves. So we're adding the ADUs and the SB9s. That's the new California laws. So that's what we're doing right now. Some cities are easy, some cities are not, even though it's a state law.
So what has your experience been with SB9? Because I've never have known someone to actually go through with it. So what does that look like in your experience? La
Habra's Simple.
Simple?
Which is right down the street here. We were going to build an ADU out of a garage. We usually take a house and then take a detached garage and then make it 2 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. And then La Habra said, well, you can build another home up top, the SB9. So they actually brought it to our attention that we could do it. Where Whittier,
It's a little hard.
It's another ballpark.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure it out.
Have you tried to do like an SB9 on a property here, or just kind of like a thought?
It's just right down the street we have, right in La Habra we have. And then in Lakewood, I don't know how many we've got going. I know the neighbors don't like it because parking becomes an issue, and then all of a sudden you've got these mammoth properties sitting over these little tiny homes.
Right.
And but that's what the state's allowing, and that's what we're going to do. I mean, that's the best way right now to maximize the profits.
Really? So ADUs versus just a normal flip then?
Yeah, because there's no flips. I mean, nothing makes sense right now because everybody has equity in their properties. So there's just no value in flips.
It's a really good tip right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Question about SB9 though. So once you subdivide the property, right? You don't subdivide?
You don't have to.
You don't have to, because I thought you had to subdivide and then pay taxes on both parcels.
You don't have to. You have to continue reading the law. And the law says you don't have to. Nor do you have to live in the property either, which some people make you think. But no, you don't have to do either.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of those properties, you're selling them off or you're holding them?
We're holding them right now. What we're doing right now is we're usually buying a house. And so we're fixing up the house. And then after the house is complete, we try to get some renters in there.
Okay.
And then from there on, and as we got renters in there, we're going through all the permits and finalizations with the city and such. And so then we start building the ADU, and then we start building the SB9. So we're collecting some rent in the meantime, and somebody's there to watch over the materials and such. But it's been going fine so far.
Are there any issues with the tenant that's in that property and you building?
They know up front.
Okay.
They know up front. We put it in the lease agreement, and they know that they have to allow the contractors to come in, and that eventually there'll be people living next to them or above them or somewhere else on the parcel. And we give them a rent discount too.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, I did a sale in Moreno Valley where actually the seller sold it to an investor, but he said you can still rent the house, right?
Oh, okay.
But he's like, in 6 months, you're not going to have a garage anymore.
Okay,
So
right.
I'm turning that
Right,
into an ADU,
right.
and then once that happens, you got a rent discount.
That's exactly
So
what
it's
we've
like
been
a
doing.
win-win. Yeah.
And it is. Because whatever that person's probably paying for rent, and if they went out on the market now, it's probably jumped substantially.
Have you had any tenant horror stories?
Yeah, I know I just paid for a parking ticket for somebody because our contractors took up all their driveway space. So when the street sweeper came, they had to park out into the street. And so they got a parking ticket, which was fine. And you know what? I'll accept that, and I'll help any way I can. Another one came home to find out their whole back of their house was ripped open.
Oh.
And so the contractors shouldn't have done it like that. And so we had to close it back up and just secure it somehow. So yeah, there's still problems.
Wow.
Yeah, those are not too any like since we're on that topic. I know like during COVID, I'm sure you had buy and holds, tenants in it. Anything crazy there?
I know some. I guess we can name cities. I know in Lakewood right now we have to pay somebody to live in a house overnight because people keep breaking into it.
Oh,
Wow.
So and you know, I mean, it is what it is, and thankfully we found somebody, and they continue to break into it even while somebody's living there until they realize, I guess, somebody's in there, because once word gets out, everybody knows about it.
Wow.
yeah, and that's just a cost of business, right?
Exactly.
So
And management too in California as well. So
Yeah, it's tenant friendly, that's for sure.
going back to the market right now, what is your take on what is happening in the market right now? I know you said it's a little bit harder right now to get profits, a little bit harder just in general. What's your take on the world?
Hey, this is my opinion, and I've had this opinion for years, and one day I'm going to be right. I mean, I just don't know what's happening with the economy. I mean, I heard two more businesses are going out on strike this morning on the way here. I just don't see the economy getting better. Real estate, once again, is cyclical, so it comes, you know, I see REOs and short sales coming back again, even though rates were much lower than they were 15 years ago the first time around. But if you're not employed, you can't make those payments. So I think patience right now, and if you're going to start flipping or start doing anything, just have some patience in what you do. Find somebody knowledgeable like your team. You can help them along, and like I said, patience.
do you think the strikes have like a direct impact on whether or not people could pay their mortgage payments and stuff?
I'm told it's a short-term thing, but as more and more people are going on strike, like another faction of the auto workers just went on strike this morning. You know, it's a trickle down. It's not just the auto workers; it's the parts companies and the suppliers and everybody else all the way down. And that's just one little fraction of the whole economy. But this is continuing to happen with the actor strike now, and then that's trickled all the way down to the prop houses and everybody else. So I mean, like I said, I've said for years now the economy is going to get worse, and it's been a big party. I mean, I was buying houses around here for $275,000, maybe even less, $250,000, $275,000 back in 08, 09, which 15 years ago. So they've more than tripled in 15 years. So that's quite a party. So a lot of times when you have a big party, there's a big crash afterwards. So that's what I'm expecting.
What's one of your personal struggles right now with this market?
Well, we're creating our own markets
Right.
with the ADUs and the SB9s, and it's really just creating enough time. It's difficult driving around the cities. Even getting utilities turned on takes an hour sometimes just to call Edison to get your electricity or your gas turned on and stuff. It's just finding enough time to do what we're doing.
Nice. Okay.
I have a question. So with ADUs, did you say that you, like when you find a house, fix it up, put a renter in there, the garage, you're changing it to an ADU, do you sell those after? Is that what you said? You sell those, or do you keep them?
We've kept them all right now. We've got a couple on the market, but we're in no hurry to sell them because they're generating nice cash flow.
Okay.
And right now with the market the way it is too, it's difficult to take that cash and put it into something else too.
Right.
So they're on the market, but like I said, we're in no hurry to sell them.
Okay. Yeah. I just didn't know whether like how that conversation went with the tenant. You know, like, hey, it's a year, your year's up. You know, we're selling the property.
We would sell it. We were selling it with the tenants in there.
With the tenant in place.
Yeah. So it'd be like an apartment complex or something like that.
Is it a little harder to sell them with the tenants?
We haven't experienced that yet. Like I said, we're building them, and like I said, we're in no hurry to sell them. It shouldn't be, unless somebody wants to do a owner-occupied loan. Then of course they're going to need one of the units.
Correct.
So we'd have to figure either give cash for keys like in the old days of the REOs, which I know you know about, or we'll have to figure something out.
I think if the rents are good, though.
Exactly.
Because if you're selling it with the tenant, and the owner that's selling it's never raised rents, and it's like super under market, and now you have to like slowly raise the rent $100 a year.
I agree.
Doesn't make sense at that point.
No.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen a lot of those recently in the past couple months.
Well, that's why with my the rentals that I have, I'm making sure that I'm raising rents, because if I ever want to sell it, I want it to make sense for the person coming in.
And we made that mistake. We didn't do that. We let them go for a few years without doing that, and now we're way behind. Our renters love us.
I know.
But then also it's making it a little bit easier now that we're going to knock on their door and say, hey, we're going to build the ADU and the SB9. We'll keep your rent the same, because they're quite a bit under market. And so at that point, they're not real happy about it. And then they start looking to see what else is out there, and they realize we can't move. So it's a blessing at that point.
I think a lot of landlords tend to get comfortable because a lot of the tenants, they're really good tenants, and they don't want to lose them. I'm not gonna lie, I do have one like that, which I haven't raised the
So
rent.
do I.
I want to keep them.
But you don't want it vacant. You don't want to pay for the repair costs. You don't want it sitting vacant to find a new renter. So I applaud that, and I agree. I understand that too.
I mean, it doesn't keep the property for a while. If you're planning to keep it for a long time, then
they're taking care of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I have this property in Whittier, and it's a duplex.
Okay.
But it's weird. It's like one house faces this way and the other house faces this way.
They're not detached. They're detached.
They're detached, own separate garages.
Okay,
like
cool.
if you drive by, you think that it's just normal two houses, but it shares a parcel.
Oh, right.
So, but now Whittier's is hard to do at SB9, you said. So I'm like, maybe I'll just keep it till they figure it out.
They're supposed to have figured it out a couple months ago, so I'm sure it'll happen any day now.
Sure.
Yeah.
what's the farthest distance you'll go for any type of flips? Or will you go out to Palm Springs? Will you go to Victorville? Will you go to Bakersfield?
I think the furthest
will you go to San Diego?
we would go would be towards like Menifee or Winchester, because we do
Okay.
have a partner out that way. Probably not much further than Pasadena or Glendale if we're going up that way, just because once again I want to see it, I want to touch it, I want to feel it.
Yeah. And how are you, like, when you flip properties? Are you at the job site often, like looking at what your contractors are doing, or is it more just like, hey, I trust you, this is my vision,
It's my partner.
Your partner does a lot of the...
Yeah, he goes around. He's pretty strong, and he gets things done. Mm-hmm. So I trust him, and he gets it done. I sit behind the desk most of the time and on the computer and such.
You have it made.
Yeah.
Well, is it like an equal partnership where you're like, hey, I'm going to analyze this deal. Oh, it's a good one. Let's collect our funds and do it together. And you're like your partner's more like the people person?
Nothing's ever 50-50, but yeah, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
Can you give any advice working with? I know you said you don't really deal with the contractors, but I'm sure you still have experience.
I'm a
with all
licensed
that.
contractor.
What are some things for investors, newly investors, whatever, some things to watch out for when they're choosing the contractors? Are there things that they should be aware of? Because I've heard a lot of.
You probably don't want to
horror stories with
overpay
contractors.
somebody up front. And
That's
you
a
want to
great
get
one.
on some sort of payment schedule with them that after they complete this, you'll write another check, and after you complete this, because a lot of times they'll come, hey, I need new tires. Can you just front me some money? No. And I'm sorry, it's straight business. Mr. and Mrs. Contractor, this is our schedule and this is what we're going to stay on.
Okay, nice. So a lot of you're a total entrepreneur. That's
Thank you.
Sure. You have a lot of experience. What do you think newly entrepreneurs are lacking today?
I hate to say this, 'cause work ethic.
Okay.
And not just young, everybody. I think COVID made us all lazy. It did make me lazy at a certain point, but I start my day every morning walking my dogs at 6 a.m. It gives me a chance to just think about my day yesterday and what I got to do today. And then I go to my office by 7 a.m. and I'm starting. And a lot of times I'm upset because at 7 a.m. I can't make those phone calls to Edison because they're not open till 8 o'clock or this or that. So I just try to prep my day. And I think people just need to start, and once again, just work ethic and just doing it because, I wasn't given anything. I worked for everything I got.
Nice.
What do you do when you're feeling like unmotivated? Because it's hard for me to like be motivated every single day. You have those days where you're like, oh man.
I start with a simple task then. I just start finding something simple, like either it's just deleting my email or just something simple that I don't mind doing. And then all of a sudden that goes to a bigger and bigger task. In fact, I was watching your videos, and so first thing that popped up was my favorite YouTube video. It's this person in the Navy, and he was giving a graduation speech. And basically it went from making your bed every morning to, ruling the world, but it all starts with making your bed. And that's why it's just starting with a simple task, and then all of a sudden it promotes the rest of your day.
Dang, I forgot to do my bed this morning.
I'm in my bed. I cannot work in a dirty space. I'm like, I've always been.
Well, that's
like
what they
that.
say. At least you come home, even if you had a bad day, you come home to
At
a
least
clean
my house is
bed.
clean.
Exactly.
What would you right now tell your 18-year-old self if you could go back?
My 18-year-old self wouldn't listen to anybody. However, we'll go back to the IRAs again.
Okay.
And start putting money away. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be forever before you can touch that. But however, you can touch it because you can invest in stocks if you want to. Invest in homes. Buy a rental property. You can do all sorts of stuff with that. And once again, it's tax-free. And there are ways to get your money out early too. God forbid if you have a disability or something like that. But let's hope not. But let's hope you can retire at 59 and a half. What I used to tell my students, especially in 6th grade, and of course they didn't understand this, I said, if you work hard for the next 6 years, you get through high school and you get a good college and then you got a good job after that, and then you get to play for 60 years because you got a good job, or do you play now for 6 years and work hard for 60 years because you didn't pay attention in school and now you're working out a difficult labor job. And so once again, I guess it would be just save and try to start my IRA.
I forgot to mention this too when you kind of talked about the buy and hold part, because you mentioned buying the property. Let's just say buying units right now. Do you see a lot of return for people here in California?
Keith, you probably know that better than I do. I don't think the market price has moved much other than up. It never goes down, or very seldom. So that's why we're creating our own multi-unit properties, and then I think that's the best bang for the buck right now.
Nice.
I think it depends too on the multifamilies. Like for me, I was looking at a property in Whittier actually was it Bright? But it was like a triplex, vacant, like for $1 million. But I'm like, to me that would make sense because it's vacant. You can throw renters in there right away, kind of see like how the numbers play out. But at least you have another property, and even if the cycle goes down, it's going to go back up, and those tenants have been paying your.
Right, hopefully, yeah, exactly. Well, and hopefully you can refinance. Who knows if the rates are going to stay this high? I mean, when I got into the business, this is what they were, 7 and 8%. So we got lucky that they were down to 2 3/4 or 3% for quite some time, because we'll never see that again.
Right, and because the rates have gone so high, I've also heard like the BRRRR method is not a thing anymore because no one wants to refinance their multifamilies. Is that true? Like, what do you see?
See, I'm learning right now. What's the BRRRR method?
Oh, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, first of all, nobody. I mean, you've experienced this daily. Probably not too many people want to move because their new payments are going to be higher than their old payments right now. So it's like I said. I guess it's situation by situation.
Do you think the interest rates will go down?
Of course, it's cyclical too.
Mm-hmm.
But when, I don't know. How low? I don't know.
Now, I do hear a lot of. So let's talk about a first-time buyer real quick. a lot of first-time buyers, they had when the interest rates were at 3%, they had trouble getting a house because so much competition. The prices were going up. 40, people had to remove appraisal contingencies. Right now, they're high, but there's less competition. Do you recommend a buyer should buy right now? A first-time buyer who's buying a house? What do you think?
I'd like them to buy one of your listings, yes.
All right.
No, I think it's very situational. If that person is a high income earner, that person's able to put a down payment, closing costs, and still have money in the bank and they're not strapped for cash after buying a house.
There's the perfect answer.
Then buy the house, you know? But if you're like throwing everything you have and you're stuck with that mortgage payment, you can't afford to eat anything, then maybe reconsider.
And I always tell people too, if that's your dream home, absolutely go for it. But if it's your second or third choice, maybe keep looking for that dream home.
Especially if they plan to keep it for a long time.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, you've really shared some good information today. Really appreciate you coming out and, speaking to us.
Thank you both.
I guess you didn't answer my question. Since you don't like breakfast, what do you like for dinner?
Oh, it's got to be meat. I'm a contractor.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you very much for having us.
Both.
Once again, Gene.
Thank you, Gene.
Thanks for our information. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Gene. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Listen to our next podcast next week with more information. And
see you then.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.